Hello and welcome back to Focus Atlanta. Thanks so much for continuing to watch. We're going to shift the focus on you just a little bit, talk a little bit about some toxic substances that we should be looking out for. I'm here with Sarah Vogel. Thanks so much for coming on the show, Sarah. Well, let's start at the beginning. For the viewers, for the normal everyday person, what is the Toxic Substances Control Act? If I got that right.
It's a mouthful, right? So the Toxic Substances Control Act, we just call it TSCA, which I get sounds like an Italian restaurant, but TSCA, this is our country's bedrock chemical safety law. So it's designed to protect the public, you and me, from toxic chemicals, chemicals that are present in your home. So think of your laundry detergent, things under your sink, your carpets, the flooring, but your workplace as well, and which can contaminate the air and the water that we drink and the soil in our communities when these chemicals are produced, they're spilled, or otherwise, released in the environment. And the law requires that our Environmental Protection Agency actually look at the safety of these chemicals. And if they see that there's what they call an unreasonable risk, that they take action to set restrictions. And 10 years ago, the law was significantly updated. And since then, there have been actions really for the first time in decades and decades to get some really nasty chemicals off the market. We're concerned, and why I'm really glad to join you today, because we're seeing a concerted effort in Congress to what we think would really take steps to weaken this really important law that a lot of people don't know about, but has been working.
Oh my goodness. And when you say toxic chemicals, you're talking about everyday stuff, like stuff we might be cleaning with all the time in our home, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So I'll give you some examples. I mean, chemicals are all around us. Not all of them, are a significant risk, but there are some that really are. So there's a class of chemicals that your viewers may be familiar with. They're called the PFAS chemicals, sometimes referred to as forever chemicals, and that's because they just don't break down in the environment, right? So they're persistent in our drinking water where they've ended up, in soil on farms, but they also bioaccumulate in our bodies. They're used because they have incredible water resistant, grease resistant properties. So they've been added to textiles. So our carpets, the fabrics used on our furniture and clothing, water resistant clothing, nonstick cookware. But the problem is that they do present some real risks. Concerns about immune suppression, different types of cancers. And we're particularly worried about those who would be most vulnerable. So that's children, pregnant women, where their bodies are developing and growing, but also then people who are going to be more exposed, those living near production sites or whose drinking water or communities may have already been contaminated, and then they're getting additional exposures potentially in the home.
So, what is that process like for review? Like, how does the EPA review and regulate these type of issues?
Yeah, so the law in 2016, for the first time ever, gave the EPA this mandate to start reviewing all of those chemicals that were already in our environment that make up kind of our modern life. So they look at all of those and evaluate the safety. If they find that there's a risk, they then need to set some kind of restriction, sometimes a total ban, but maybe it's a partial restriction in order to protect people. When they do that, they have to consider those vulnerable individuals and communities that I mentioned earlier, pregnant women, workers, people living along the fence line of chemical production facilities. They also look at the hundreds of new chemicals that are coming onto the market every day. And that was a big change in 2016. There are still PFAS chemicals coming into onto our environment, even as we're trying to deal with the legacy ones. So it's a really important uh, step that they have to take, both to think holistically about the chemicals in our environment.
Oh my gosh. Well, now you know I've got to ask you, where can we learn more? Like what, how can
Yes.
we dive in? Is there a place that we can go on the web and kind of see what type of progress can be made? Can we advocate, you know what I mean, for the EPA in terms of just the public wanting you guys to be able to continue the work? When
Yes.
governmental things happen, we just want to know, do we have a role?
Yes, we would love people to learn more. I will say that this is an issue that we know affects everybody, and most people are concerned about. It shouldn't be a partisan issue, and we don't think it should be. So please learn more. You can go to edf.org/TSCA. You can learn as much as you want about the law, about chemicals, how you can get involved and raise your voice. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for coming on the show. It was good to meet you.
Great to meet you, Keisha. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right, guys, we can have a role too. We can play a role too. We just need to be educated. We need to know what we're asking our lawmakers for. We need to know how we're advocating in our own communities because this affects all of us. Again, to her point, this is not a partisan issue. This is not, left or right. This is all of us. So please take the opportunity to go to the website and learn more. And stay tuned to more Focus Atlanta. We'll be right back.